You know what I mean?
Did you ever hear that ethnic joke talk about, it's not Chinese, but I mean the guy that told to me was a French, because they're the French and the Belgs, the people in Belgium.
Right?
So it's on, huh?
It's on. What's your name?
My name is Gerard Garcia.
What year were you born?
In 1950.
Where were you born?
I was born in Havana, Cuba.
When you were in Havana, Cuba, did you have any jobs as a child? Like, were you a paper boy or?
I was, my first job, I started working at my father's store, which was a mom, pa's, a grocery store. I was an apprentice with a guitar maker in Havana at the age of 9 when I first wanted to play guitar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you started
I
playing?
was the glue boy.
All right.
I glued, put strings on, and he kind of took me under his wing because his son, whom he, of course, wanted him to be a guitar maker and loved the guitar, hated the instrument. So the way that I ended up there was due to the fact that I wanted to play the guitar. My father said, well, you know, so I got a job. And he was my first teacher. His name was Modesto Garcia. And he had, I got to go on expand on this a little bit. He was in a fire, and all the tendons in his finger have been burned. So his finger in hand, his strumming hand could not be opened any more than this. Could not open any more than this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So he did all his work with his two fingers, kind of like Django Reinhardt. Django Reinhardt.
And how long did you live in Cuba?
For 12 years.
Okay. And then when you were 12 years old, you left Cuba. Where did you move to?
Well, the first place we landed in Miami, where we didn't stay very long. After I went to Adam Merritt High School for I think about a week, and then a young Cuban boy was murdered. That was enough for my mother. And then we went to 178th and Roosevelt Avenue in Queens.
This is you and
my family.
Your nuclear family, your
yeah, I mean my mother
father.
and father, yeah. There, and then from there we bounced around different families that we had in New York City until we ended up in our wonderful, glorious town of West New York.
So you moved from New York City across the Hudson River to West New York, New Jersey.
Exactly.
Okay. And how did this all seem, this New York, New Jersey experience compared to Havana? They're both big cities.
For one thing, you know, now I realize when I bring people that have never been there, it's hard for me because, I mean, I look at that as almost my home in this country. It's kind of hard to think about it, but I see when I take people over there, everybody goes, oh, how dirty. And I remember my first idea was coming from Newark Airport, the Pulaski Skyway, to anyone that might know that area. It's just a soot-covered, you know, pathway. It's never been cleaned in 2,000 years or something. And it was the beginning of it was autumn, I guess. It was all gray. You kind of see the city was all engulfed in just soot. Everything was real sooty. That is kind of hard as to compare to, you know, a blue, you know, cloudless sky of the Caribbean.
Uh-huh.
You know, that was kind of like a shock. I never forget my mother just crying and thinking, oh, you know, that's it. You know, we're done.
We're done.
It's over. But, you know, like everything else, I mean, those years weren't real pleasant, you know.
Did you get a job?
I was an immigrant. I mean, it was obvious I was an immigrant because the clothes that we were given in Florida to travel to New York said immigrant everywhere. I never forget this. We were going to New York, so they gave us, and this was '62, which was, you know, they gave me a raccoon coat, like from from the 40s to go to school with. I mean, I was the lamest guy in town. I was the immigrant. You know, and of course, you know, I took my beatings and stuff like that, but you know, everybody has this.
Why did your family leave Cuba?
Mainly, the revolution came in '59 and, you know, everything got socialized, you know, they lost their business, but that wasn't really what did it. What really did it, I think, just prior to the Bay of Pigs, he finally established that he was a socialist communist and he'd been one since his days at university and so forth and whatnot. And that was for my family because these people were like told, they are devout Catholics. And then he started throwing the priests and the nuns out, and that just wasn't, You know, so basically, if you were to say, I guess that we came here for religious reasons, more than monetarily, because we all, you know, we were okay, but I mean, we didn't lose a lot. As a matter of fact, most Cubans at the time there were welcoming some kind of change because of the, you know, the previous regime was, you know, pretty, I don't know, lacking for words. It was pretty brutal.
Uh-huh.
I think it was pretty brutal all around, you know.
So now
There was a change needed, but I'm not a political person, so I don't want to go any further.
Uh-huh. So you made it to West New York, New Jersey with your family.
Yeah.
And at that point...
Because of why? The embroidery.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
The embroidery capital of the world.
Sure.
West New York,
I mean,
New
there was
Jersey.
work galore in 1962. You know that. You know, I mean, it was, you know, you could leave a job in the morning, go to work in the afternoon, and you didn't have to speak English. All you had to do was embroidery. Exactly.
And did you get a job as a young man there? Did you have like an after-school job?
Yeah, I had. Yeah, well, we all everybody worked. You know, I had a job. My first job there was delivering cantinas. Remember cantinas?
Yes.
Yeah, delivering cantinas.
So
I'm working on it. Was then probably 13. 14.
So you're a cantinero.
Cantinero. Well, no cantinero. No, cantinero in Spanish would be the guy that tends bar.
Oh.
That's a cantinero. I think we were asking about that part. That's a cantinero. I was a... Yeah, maybe I was a cantinero. I was a non-alcoholic cantinero. Yeah.
What are these cantinas? What?
Cantinas is a real great idea, which I wish I had here right now. Basically what it is, you've seen them. They're 5-layered trays that are delivered to your home every evening. And and then the fact that it did deliver to your home, you already made arrangements with the restaurant during the week to go ahead. So you have 2. You leave, you leave 2. You get 1, and when I leave 1, you pick another one. So therefore, okay, so you make a menu for the week. So every day you have a 5-course meal. You got soup, you got salad, you got a meat, you got rice and whatnot, and then of course they give you a break on the meals because you're buying them there every day, and it's delivered to your door.
So this for people that are working, they can just come home.
Perfect. Yeah, because you can order for 2, 3, 15. Then you get the big cantina.
So when you delivered cantinas, did you do this by bicycle? Or?
No, I did this with a guy screaming in a station wagon, smelly with food falling down. And I must have been in the best shape of my life because I was in West New York, and the people that were renting, I mean, there was nobody lived under a 4th floor. So I just went up and down from about 4 to 6:30, 2.5 hours, running up and down stairs with. That's what I need to do today. Get a job like that instead of.
So at this point, you were in public school or a parochial school, or?
I was in parochial school always. I went briefly to public school in and out of New York City. But I've been to basically Catholic all-boys school all my life.
Uh-huh.
Well, except for Memorial, but I mean, yeah, mostly, yeah.
So at this point, when you got to high school in West New York, St. Joseph's High School, did you study languages in high school? You studied Latin? Or?
I took Latin. I think everybody had to take Latin. I took Latin freshman year, maybe. That's about it. I took Latin. All the courses were, of course, in a place like that were all designed for, there was no shop or anything as opposed to, so everything was designed for a college prep type thing. But, as you know, I think as sophomore year of high school, I became more musically inclined, and that was just something I did for my family.
Going to school?
Well, going to school. I knew that they wanted me to. I never would imagine, going to school. It's weird. I see people today, like here in California, I never fathomed cutting school. We never cut school. I don't know. I never cut school. I just didn't do that.
What do you mean you became more musically inclined?
Well, actually not musically inclined, but I always had, I had the guitar. As a matter of fact, thinking back, during that first time when I first came here, there was a rejection period where I had my raccoon coat and I was, an idiot. I kind of like went into my room and I just retrieved to the guitar for those 2 years. But then, I kind of got going and stuff like that. And then I was really taken, I think somewhere in freshman year, I was kind of just rolled in with a folk revival of the 60s that happened in New York City. And I heard Lightning Hopkins from Brownsville, Texas, and that was it, man. I thought that guy was it. And from then on, I just went deeper and deeper into it.
And he played what kind of music?
He played guitar. He played blues. He played country blues from Brownsville, Texas. What was it? Sam. Lightning Hopkins. Sam Hopkins. Yeah. And then from that, I went into Delta blues. I wanted, I just kind of studied that music, and then I started playing and whatnot, and then kind of gained some popularity. Life changed. Life was good. I was accepted by society. I lost the raccoon coat.
So you heard Lightning Hopkins play in Greenwich Village?
No, I heard Lightning Hopkins. Actually, I heard Blues in a Bottle played in WPAI late at night when I was about probably 14 or 15. They used to have the blues shows late at night, blues and jazz shows. And that was, I remember that's the first time I heard that, and also the Incredible String Band. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I heard them there for the first time too. And this were two things where I just went like, wow. These were like revelations to me musically. So I got really, I put all my energy into that. And during those days, really school, was something I did. I had to do because you couldn't fail out. But I used to go home from school and I'd play. I just play those records until I wore the grooves right out of them. I'd eat, and I felt I got pretty good at it.
So then did you perform your music in clubs?
Yeah. I performed in New York City in certain places and high schools and stuff like that, but nothing, never really pushed it. And in a way, not to blame anybody, but I never did get any support from my family, which I don't blame them. With an immigrant, it's like, well, yeah, that should be, it's kind of hard. You're trying to make a go and everybody's going, keep your day job, which, they were right, it was pretty insecure times and stuff, so.
So their values?
Their values, my father to begin with, God rest his soul. He, whatever he wanted to play when I was 9 years old was the piano. I wanted to be a pianist. And he said, what is wrong? You want to play the piano? Little girls play the piano. Then I kept, I want to play an instrument. Because I used to sing all the time. When I was a kid, I used to sing all the time for the people on the block.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I was a ham from way back. No, I used to sing on the block all the time at night. And I'd sing all the songs, stuff like that. And I wanted something to accompany myself. But the piano, I think partly, it wasn't so much that. It was like, it was, I think, monetarily, it was unfathomable for him to think that he would buy a piano. So that's when he kind of hooked me up, actually. So he did always aid me. And the first guitar I got in Madison, New York, on 34th Street, I think, was half my money. It was a Gibson J3200, which cost $160 then, which I still have. It was $160. I came up with the $80, and he put in the other $80. So he did, he could see it. But as a matter of fact, in a way, I got to give him patience because this person did not speak English. This person were in the world of the blues. This person had to come home from work and listen to like, yeah, got me down low. It must have been like, oh Jesus, it must have been kind of maddening, in a way. So, but he tolerated it and stuff like that. But I never. Whenever I tried to think of like, well, because those days everybody, there was Barry, and we were all going to be the nice folkies of the...
So that was a folk music revival of the 1960s.
Yeah, that's right.
And this town, West New York, where we lived, was only a couple miles from Greenwich Village.
That's right. And there was a lot of music being played. I've seen, I've seen a lot of people. I played straight on stage, before Fred Neil and a lot of, back in those days, there weren't really, such big names or anything. The Café Wa all those clubs. I mean, the name escaped me. I played at the Gaslight, you know, when Dylan started, you know, on amateur nights, and you know, what's just bad with names. What was the Gertie's Folk City? Dave Van Ronk used to give lessons, and Reverend Gary Davis used to give lessons down at Avenue of the Americas at the. God, what was it?
Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
how
it was
long
a time.
did
It
you
was a
live in
real, it
West
was a
New
real
York?
musical time.
How long did you live in West New York?
Not that long.
Until what year? Like,
I left right out of high school, '68.
where'd you move to?
I went to Montreal.
Was that connected to the war in Vietnam, or?
Not necessarily, because I came back here. I mean, I wanted to go somewhere, and there was a kid. See, I've always had, for some reason, I don't know why, this affinity to the French and the French language. You know, and I remember there was a kid named Pierre Lumiere, and I heard about it and I seen it, and I went, you know, I just had to go somewhere. I mean, I couldn't very well live with my parents any longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So you moved to
18, I mean,
Montreal, Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I went up there with, you know, just on a wing and a prayer. I don't even know what I probably had, you know, 1968. I don't know. I had the ticket and about $20 on the guitar or something. Hey, like a kid. Hey, here I am. And he was great. He was great. And he was funny because I met, well, it wasn't funny, but back to the affinity. I met with a guy on the bus from Boston. I said, well, you know, from what I knew, Montreal was pretty well divided into the English, you know, and the French. I said, well, you know, we'll go up there by McGill. I don't have that kind of money. I think your best friends are going to be down there, so we went down by the French Quarter. And we got a great, well, it wasn't a great room, but I mean, it was a great price. You know, down at Madame de Pelleteau's rooming house. Down in the Rue du Frêne, right by the Botanical Gardens. This guy lasted a week.
Your friend that you met?
I mean, well, the guy I met, he lasted a week, and it was like meals were included. And it was pretty good cooking. He go upstairs, he couldn't eat. He says, I know they're talking about me. I know. I said, what? Yeah, I said, why would they be talking about you? I mean, you know, do you like the food? He says, I can't enjoy myself. I don't know what they're saying, and I think they're talking about me. So he left shortly after that.
And they were speaking the French language?
Yeah, well, they were speaking French, you know. I mean, I spoke Spanish, so I understood some of it, but I mean, by any means, I didn't fully understand everything they were saying, but I mean...
They weren't talking about you?
I didn't think I amounted to that much, you know, plus, I mean, they were like arguing about stuff. But anyway, he left and I stayed.
So you stayed there for a while?
From there, and I should have stayed, I met this girl, and I fell madly in love with her, and she came from some farm in Winnipeg. And yeah, right, exactly. That's, you know, not knowing what went on, I think I left hitchhiking for Winnipeg in September or something. Oh, I want to go to Winnipeg. I just thought, yeah, it's kind of like taking a bus. Well, it took me a long time to get to Winnipeg. I ran out of money. I met up some French people, picked tobacco in London. They tried to get me to pick apples. It was a trek. By the time I got to Winnipeg, she was gone. I was wore out. It was 60 below zero. You know, it's a true love story.
Yeah.
The whole thing went to shit.
What was her name?
I don't remember her name. You know, but it was good. It was real passionate. It was real young and stupid. One of those. Yeah.
So now you're in Winnipeg. It's 60 below zero, 1968, 69.
1968, 69. So I keep going right across with another bunch of people I meet, and I ended up in Vancouver, BC. And the whole time, I had a friend that kept trying to get me back to go to Montreal, but I was going, man. I was all over the place. I was leaving. We were going, you know, this and that. As a matter of fact, at one point we were going to go and, you know, somebody said something. They said, oh, you know, there's work up in Fort St. John, you know, in the Alcan Highway way up there, up Fraser Valley. Picking coal. I'll never forget this.
Picking?
I mean, you know, coal mine. picking coal.
Okay.
Picking coal from in a coal mine.
Uh-huh.
I'll never forget this. It's beautiful up there. I've never ever been there. We get all the way up there. We're in a restaurant. This is a true story. I can't believe this. We're looking for work in a coal mine. In pops this guy screaming, "Number 9 went down! Number 9 went down!" Well, that was it. I said, well, I'm not going down anywhere. This is not the type of work I want to get into. I mean, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die looking at the sky. But that was, we went to Dawson Creek. That year, Dawson Creek had no streets. It was just, really, I mean, it was a trek for somebody my age. Then I worked my way back.
So did you work?
I went back down. I went back down to Vancouver, and I made enough money to get a train to head back to Montreal. And then I had another great experience, tanning hides. You know anything about tanning hides?
Sounds dreadful.
Oh, it's really a joyful thing. This dead pieces of meat come down this hole, and you wrap them up in salt as maggots fly around your head. That was really
Tanning hides.
yeah, tanning hides in Vancouver. Made enough money to get back to. There's people that were working there forever.
So this was the heyday of the hippies.
Yeah, this was the heyday of the hippies, and I guess I was like being people were a lot more mobile, And I with those days, I mean, she's how I came to California. I just went.
So
I didn't have to think twice about going someplace. I'd just go.
So you came to California then?
I came to California with a blanket and a salami and a guitar. The salami ran out in Montana. I think that was it. I came to California actually with Mike Mitchell. He was going, and I had just, I really didn't have anything else going on the East Coast. So, and I heard California.
So I remember that trip that you and Mike Mitchell came across and stopped up at our...
Yeah, that's where we first landed, up in...
Occidental, California.
Occidental, California.
That was a long time ago. It's 1969.
69, right. Yeah, I remember he was leaving that night with that... I didn't know him, the guy who was working in the New York Library. And I said, "You got to take me." And he was going, "Man, we're in a Volkswagen." I said, "You got to take me." So I went around and got myself... I think I got about 25... I rounded up $25-30 from the people that I didn't know money to at the time. Just got what I could and just left. I don't think I told my parents, really.
What was your impression of
went.
California? What did you think when you got here?
Well, where I landed, I came from there and immediately I went up. I never have spent any time in Northern California or here. I've spent time here now after I've gone to work. But I spent most of my time really up north. I liked it because I had been in a city environment so long, and I liked just, it was good. It was the woods, I felt real secure. I was in the mountains, It was real tucked in there. Plus, at that time, what was going on up there was like right up my alley. There was nothing but a bunch of rubber dicks and rejects up there pretty much, everybody else was, it was perfect for me at the time. And it was a good time to recuperate, whatnot.
A bunch of what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I'm sorry, I was quoting a line from Dr. John.
Uh-huh.
Have you never heard that? It's just a line from Dr. John.
Okay.
Basically, it was really there was a big, hippie bohemian type scene. When I first got there, since I didn't have any money, I immediately set up a camp. I had a camp. I camped out for a long time. Where now it's just, somebody made a, what do you call this, homes, some kind of track. But there was a lot of people living that way. There wasn't that much money that was needed, and the jobs that they were just odd jobs that were going on and on. And,
What kind of odd jobs did you have?
Well, how about like digging a basement by hand? By hand meaning with a pick and a shovel. It's like job security. It takes a long time. Never forget, I worked with a guy named Jack Tom. He never told anybody his real name, but he was like that. The guy was like that. He was a microbiotic. He did like yoga. He did all this. And we went. The house was on a hillside. The guy wanted a basement. So we went ashore the side, and then we just went in it, just like, jeez, I can't even imagine. Think now after engineering and stuff like that. I could have just gotten a hole and dug a hole. No, we went after it. This guy would go after, like, I mean, he was so strong.
And he was eating brown rice?
He was eating brown rice as well. As a matter of fact, he lived in the same house. And he had his own pan. And somebody had, how he found this out, I don't know. Somebody fried a hamburger in his pan. And he went unglued. There was meat! You know, he went crazy. But I think he was wanted somewhere. Because he never could get a story from him. He was Jack, and then he was Tom. He was Tom, he was Jack. You know, I think he had been real sick at one time or something, you know, like somebody, because he was really like, he was
so there's a little bit of an untold story about this man.
He was overly, you know, concerned with his bodily functions. Let's end at that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was just overly concerned.
Anything else besides digging basements? Were you an agricultural laborer? Or?
Well, no, I never, you know, I tell you, my agricultural times ended with the French Canadians after I picked tobacco. I figured that was it. I really don't see, farm life was not for me.
Did you work as a logger?
Yeah, that was later on. But I mean, during those years, that, mainly that, and you know, just, you know, how, you know, remodeling whenever somebody needed somebody. But mainly it was just music. I played around there and stuff like that. When I finally decided I needed to go to work, one summer I went to work as a logger. Jeez, I made, that was probably 70, 71. I mean, them days, I made like something like, probably $16,000 or something in a season or something like that. Man, I thought, oh, geez, this is a ticket. Oh, yeah. Plus, it was, I kind of liked it, but you know what was funny? Here's a funny thing about logging that a lot of people that might not be aware of, you know. I mean, I always thought loggers, and the first thing I thought, well, I'm not very big, I'm 5'7", you know, I weigh 170 pounds, I'm healthy, but I'm not weak, you know, just you fork, man, you know, but I thought, you know, I was gonna go up there and find, like, you know, Gunard and the rest, you know, the Blue Ox, and most loggers are this very small guys up in the North Woods anyway. A lot of them are Indians, which on the average are like 5'4" or whatnot. And they're all got, you know, of course, bow legs from walking on logs. But anyway, it's for whatever it's worth. It just seems like, you know, for some reason, weren't you always put together like a logger? You know, you got this. It's not
Paul Bunyan.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, the truth of the matter is that, you know, most of the guys on the spreads were called Shorty and, you know, Louie and stuff. A lot of them came from Arkansas. They're Indians. So anyway, I went to work logging, and yeah, I mean, geez, I mean, this, you know, just kind of learned another trade, made more money for more money, and then I got in the union, I guess, and then became an operator. Not too exciting, not much to it. And then I started chasing the buck.
Good.
In California.
In Northern California, Eureka?
Not only Northern California. When I got in the union, then I started traveling, you know, the whole coast, really. I mean, I worked from Seattle to San Diego. You know, I went to Colombia with one job. So.
Were you working heavy equipment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after that, I became a heavy equipment operator on the water or on land for the next 17 years.
You worked on the water?
17 years. 17 years! So I made some good money, so I should. Yeah. I worked in the water mostly. 12 out of the 17. On and off, you know, whenever there was nothing.
Well, that sounds like a romantic occupation, working on the water.
Yeah, if you read Jack London. You know, I think, you know, Jack London, you know, I mean, it's really, I mean, that guy romanticized the hell out of working in the water, you know. I mean, I think at the time that he talked about shipping and all that, is when people went into a port and it took 4 weeks in the port, stuff like that. I got a friend of mine that graduated from Vallejo from the academy at 23. You know, from the 23. I'm thinking of something else. I tried to get into that academy. And I
California Maritime Academy?
Yeah. When by the time 23, after I've been logging for a while, I wanted to do something, and I just, for some reason, that came to mind. I missed it by 6 months. I don't think people have 23. That's why I said 23. Anyway, he became, you can either become an officer or a chief down the engine room. So he went out to work. He got on a ship. And then I talked to him. I said, what are you doing? He says, I've been all over the world, but I finally got out. He got a job as a wharfinger in the Great Lakes, because he says, I've been all over the world, but if your watch isn't up anymore, when the ship pulls up, they're going to load a ship in what, 5 hours? You know what I'm saying, with the containers? So what are you looking at? I mean, you're up there and it's France, right? But it looks like the Port of Oakland. There's just, a bunch of, guys with hard hats and some, things moving around. So it's not this and that. And the romantic end of it, there is something to the water that draws you, I kind of miss it. I mean, well, you sail, so there is something to it. There's something about being on the water at night, especially when it's completely dark and it's all quiet. There's something to it. I can't deny that. But as far as working offshore, there are some people you get to associate with that, are rather peculiar, to say the least. But it's very good money, and for a person without an education, it suited me fine. You can always, everybody's so you can make all the money you want. I mean, if you got a strong back and a weak mind, you can do fine.
So when Mount St. Helens volcano went off,
I did that gig.
the mud went in the river and...
Well, basically, yeah, the mud went in the river, and the mud come down the Cowlitz, and he plugged the whole shipping channel of Portland to the point they were losing $1 million a day in shipping. I mean, one Japanese ship come down from Astoria, and I guess they come in the first shoal, got stuck. They backed around. They said, "We're not picking up anything else. You got to bring our stuff to Seattle." All of the ships are going to do the same thing. So it became an emergency. We went up there. It was 6 months. I went there 6 months without a day off.
6 months without a day off?
Yeah. I walked out of there. My kid had just been born, and he cost a bundle. And there was some mishap with the union where, I ended up having to pay for it, where I thought I was covered. That's another story. But that guy really brought a load for me. Yeah, I mean, I walked out of there fat. Because, you're talking about union job. Time, double time, too. These were $400 days and stuff, double time up to 8 until,
So at this point you had gotten married and had a son.
Yeah, I got married in 1980, and I had a son. I'd already been dredging. That was one of the reasons I ended up there, because I already worked on the river. So they called. So
you married a local girl?
Yeah, I married a girl from Humboldt. Family goes back, from her side of the family, they came out from France. They came out, her grandmother came from Paris, and they came from wagons and settled that valley. The freshwater valley there.
Uh-huh.
From her father's side, he was first generation Italian from, they're not Sicilian, they're Northern Italian.
Northern Italian.
They're light. They're light.
I remember visiting.
Man.
Okay, so we got, so you worked on a dredge off the coast of the country of Colombia, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that was, I was going, I signed the contract. First I was trying to go to Africa.